What if I told you that some of Britain's biggest homegrown legends, bands that filled arenas and topped charts, barely made a dent in America? While they dominated British radio and became part of the national DNA in the US, they were seen as curiosities, cult acts, or one-hit wonders. Today we're diving into 10 classic British rock bands that conquered their homeland but failed to crack the States. From glam icons to punk pioneers, these are the legends that America simply ignored. In early 70s Britain, T.rex were a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Mark Bolan became the face of glam rock. Feather, bows, glitter, and screaming fans in every city. Between 1970 and 1983, they racked up 8 consecutive top 2 singles. 4 of them number ones, with albums like Electric Warrior and The Slider ruling the charts. But in the US, it was a different story. Their only major hit was Get It On, retitled Bang a Gong, for American radio. Get it on, bang a gong, get it on. The glam look and theatrical style that thrilled British teens seemed too flamboyant for mainstream America, which was deep into country rock and singer-songwriters. Bolan's tragic death at age 29 froze that moment in time. While America largely moved on, Britain never forgot him. Decades later, T.rex's influence is everywhere, from Bowie to the Killers, proof that true stardom doesn't always need U.S. approval. If you grew up in Britain during the 1970s, Slade were everywhere. With Noddy Holder's raspy howl and Dave Hill's outrageous outfits, they were glam rock's loudest ambassadors. Between 1971 and 1984, they scored 6 #1 singles and became the top-selling British band of the decade. Yet America never quite got it. Their accent-heavy lyrics, glitter-covered image, and tongue-in-cheek humor didn't translate well. US radio favored polished acts like Kiss and Aerosmith. Ironically, both heavily inspired by Slade's sound. Their only American success came much later with Run, Run Away in 1984. The biggest twist? Quiet Riot covered 2 of their hits, turning them into US smashes, while many fans never realized they were Slade originals. Back home, though, they're icons. Loud, proud, and eternally shouting, "It's Christmas!" When it comes to the new wave of British heavy metal, Saxon stand tall beside Iron Maiden and Def Leppard in the UK. Their albums Wheels of Steel and Denim and Leather captured everything great about working-class British metal. Loud, proud, and straight from the factory floor, they stormed massive festivals like Donington's Monsters of Rock and became household names in Europe. But across the Atlantic, Saxon never got past cult status. Their 1985 album, Innocence is No Excuse, peaked at only 133 on the Billboard chart. Part of the problem was timing. By the mid-'80s, MTV America was ruled by polished glam bands in makeup and spandex, not Yorkshire blokes in leather jackets. Their blue-collar grit didn't fit the image. Still, songs like Seven Border of Strangers in the Night remain shining examples of pure, unfiltered British steel. For late 70s, Britain, the Jam were more than a band. They were a voice. Led by Paul Weller, they captured the energy of punk, but with sharper songwriting and deep social insight. From 1977 to 1982, they scored 4 #1 singles and every release made the UK Top 40. Songs like Going Underground and A Town Called Malice became generational anthems, reflecting the frustrations of working-class youth. Yet in America, the Jam barely registered. Their sound was too rooted in British life, lyrics about council estates, tube stations, and Thatcher-era angst didn't resonate across the Atlantic. U.S. audiences gravitated toward arena rock and early MTV pop instead. The Jam split at their peak, with Weller moving on to the Style Council. Still, their legacy is untouchable. Sharp, stylish, and unmistakably British, they remain one of the most important bands never to conquer America. By the early 1980s, madness were absolutely everywhere in Britain. 9 top 10 albums, 16 top 10 singles, and a national image built around cheeky, humor, and catchy ska rhythms. Their music videos were fun, chaotic, and unmistakably British. Songs like Our House, It Must Be Love, and Baggy Trousers still play at every pub and football stadium. But in America, their story was different. Our House was a brief top 10 hit, yet most Americans dismissed them as a novelty act. Their Cockney accents, storytelling lyrics, and very London sense of humor didn't quite fit the MTV mold. U.S. audiences preferred sleek, new wave imports like The Police or Duran Duran. Still, Madness remained national treasures at home, representing a sound that celebrated working class Britain with a wink, a dance, and a brass section that never stopped swinging.
I've got to be near you every night, every day.
The Damned helped invent punk rock as we know it. In 1976, they released New Rose, the first UK punk single ever, followed by the raw and explosive album Damn Damn Damn.
It's kind of strange, like a stormy sea.
They were faster, funnier, and often stranger than their rivals, the Sex Pistols and the Clash. In Britain, they became cult heroes with 9 top 40 singles and albums that bridged punk, goth, and even pop. But in America, that genre hopping proved confusing. Were they punks, goths, comedy rock? U.S. labels couldn't decide how to sell them. Add to that constant lineup changes and internal chaos, and the Damned never found stable footing stateside. Their single Eloise even reached number 3 in the UK, but never charted in America. Still, their influence is enormous. Bands from The Offspring to The Cult owe them a debt. The Stranglers emerged from the punk scene, but always seemed to be one step outside of it. Their dark humor, sharp keyboards, and odd time signatures made songs like Peaches, No More Heroes, and Golden Brown unforgettable on British radio. They scored 12 top 20 singles and 11 top 20 albums, an incredible run that made them staples of the late 70s and early 80s. But in the US, they were nearly invisible. Only one album, Dreamtime in 1986, ever cracked the Billboard 200 and just barely. Their lyrics were deeply British, filled with slang and references that didn't translate well overseas. American radio wanted shiny new wave love songs, not existential wordplay about English society. Too weird for punk, too punk for pop, the Stranglers lived in between worlds. Back home, though, they're still regarded as one of Britain's most enduring and inventive rock bands.
And yellow roses scattered all around. The time was still approaching.
Before Electric Light Orchestra, or Wizard, there was The Move, the band that laid the groundwork for both. Between 1966 and 1971, they scored 9 top 20 singles, including Blackberry Way and Flowers in the Rain, which was famously the first song ever played on BBC Radio 1. Known for their wild stage antics and publicity stunts, they smashed TVs on stage and even got sued by Prime Minister Harold Wilson over a controversial postcard In the US, though, they barely registered. Only Do Ya scraped into the charts, peaking at number 92. Their blend of quirky pop, heavy riffs, and British humor just didn't fit American taste at the time. Ironically, when Roy Wood and Jeff Lynne transformed the Move into ELO, that band became a worldwide phenomenon. The Move may have been forgotten overseas, but they sparked a musical lineage that would later conquer the globe. The Small Faces were pure mod royalty. Loud suits, louder guitars, and boundless charisma. Fronted by the powerhouse Steve Marriott and featuring Ronnie Lane, Ian McLagan, and Kenny Jones, they defined mid-60s British cool. Songs like All or Nothing and Itchy Coo Park were massive UK hits, and their 1968 concept album Ogden's Nut Gone Flake hit number 1. But in the US, they barely made a ripple. While bands like The Who and The Kinks cracked the American charts, Small Faces' uniquely British slang and humor didn't connect. Their music was steeped in London's mod culture, something Americans simply didn't relate to. When Marriott left to form Humble Pie, the band dissolved, though its remnants would soon become The Faces, with Rod Stewart and Ronnie Wood, who finally broke through in America. Still, in the UK, Small Faces remain one of the most beloved bands of the psychedelic era. No band defines British boogie rock quite like Status Quo. Over a 6-decade career, they've scored 60 charting singles and 27 UK top 10 albums. Their straight-ahead, heads-down rock and roll became part of the national soundtrack, music for pubs, football terraces, and factory radios. They even opened Live Aid in 1985 before a global audience of 2 billion. Yet in America, they never caught on. Their only US hit was Pictures of Matchstick Men back in 1968. After that, radio silence. Some say their sound was too repetitive. Others think their plain image just didn't fit the flashy American scene. But in Britain, that consistency was their charm. A reliable rock machine that never stopped rolling. For fans at home, Quo weren't just a band, they were an institution. These 10 bands show that success isn't universal. They ruled Britain, shaped generations, and influenced countless artists, even if America barely noticed. From punk pioneers to glam gods, each carried a piece of rock history that deserves to be heard. This was Britain's best, ignored abroad but immortal at home.